The monkey is off St. Louis FC's back. Finally a victory, and at the expense of the hottest team in the league. Sam Fink in stoppage time away to Reno. Now 3 in a row at Toyota Stadium. St. Louis and Seattle are coming up next. Outside St. Louis, Missouri, giant game tonight. This evening's St. Louis FC match is brought to you by the Cheshire, St. Louis, and LHM. For bookings and more information, visit CheshireSTL.com. The Cheshire is an LHM property. St. Louis FC back home, a homestand that could define their season. They take on Seattle Sounders FC2 in the lower portion of the Western Conference standings. With Matt Stubbington alongside Mike Watts with you. And Matt, when you think about Seattle, this is a team that's struggling to put things together, but like St. Louis, they come off a giant win, and they've got one key piece to their offense.
They played really well last time out against Las Vegas Lights, and that gentleman there is Nagel. He will be a key part of their offense tonight, but one part that is missing, he's on the sub bench, is Estrada. He's got 9 of their 20 goals. He's such an important part of what they do. It's interesting that he's on the bench for the second game in a row, but it's up to the other members of the team not to miss the easy chances, which they've been doing all season long.
And you see 0 wins away from home, and they just haven't been able to put it all together on the offensive end outside of Estrada. For Wallfall, he's playing really well coming back from injury.
He is playing well coming back from injury. He's got the physical attributes to control the area in the center part of the pitch, and he can do that. Sometimes he's an enigma. Sometimes he disappears from games. He wasn't happy last time out to be on the substitutes bench, but he won the PK, and he grabbed the ball. He wanted the chance to tie the game, and he did so calmly with the right leg, and that was really an indication of how mad he was that he wasn't starting last time out.
And Wallfall is your Toyota player to watch. So for St. Louis FC, they look forward to these 3 massive home games: Seattle, Las Vegas, and Sacramento. They need points if they're to make a playoff push. For Seattle, why so bad on the road? 9 games, no wins to show for it. They've brought a great roster. St. Louis, Seattle are next.
When you need quality electrical work for your home or business, look to theelectricalconnection.org. Created as a partnership between IBEW Local 1 electricians and the St. Louis chapter of the National Electrical Contractors Association, the Electrical Connection has been setting the standard for electrical excellence in St. Louis for over 100 years. You can depend on our highly skilled and trained workforce. Your #1 source for quality electrical and communication contractors, electricalconnection.org.
St. Louis, tonight's starting lineup's brought to you by Schlafly Brewery, and this for S2.
It's a really strong lineup for John Hutchinson's team tonight. Look for the speed out wide. Usman on the left, Popio on the right. They're really talented players. They've got some experience from the MLS coming down on loan from the Seattle Sounders. Wingo, Alfaro. They're 2 really good players. Jess Daly and Miglietti do a great job in the center area of the pitch as well.
And Miglietti just 18 years of age for Seattle Sounders too, with Callie Brown as their goalkeeper. He's been their first choice much of the year. On the other side, St. Louis FC's lineup brought to you by Schlafly Brewery. And will it really work out to a 3-4-3? We don't know yet.
We don't know. This is what we were sent, so it's going to be interesting to see if this is what comes out. You got 3 really good defenders there in the back, if that's exactly what Anthony Pulis puts out on the pitch tonight. Hilton and Fuller, they have to make sure they control that center area of the pitch if St. Louis are going to be successful at home.
And you mentioned Wall Fall was not happy about coming off the bench last time out. He's a 90-minute guy, and yet, well, he had to deal with it. Came off the bench, scored the penalty, and he's back into the lineup this time around. The St. Louis fans are ready to go. The St. Louligans are off to their corner. And for St. Louis, if you want to make the playoffs for the first time as a franchise in the United Soccer League, Matt, games like tonight mean a lot. This is a team beneath you on the standings that struggled on the road. You don't want to be the one that lets them off the schneid.
Absolutely. This is a really key part of the season for St. Louis and really for Seattle Sounders too as well. Sounders too are not out of the picture yet, but it's a big ask. They basically have to win out to make the playoffs. So when you look at the home team tonight, they have to make sure that they do keep the teams below them and not let them those opportunities to get 3 points.
Well, St. Louis sits on 26 points right now, 6 wins, 6 draws. 6 wins, 6 losses, 8 draws. And if you think about 3 points, you can move even for 8th place with San Antonio. Now, there's games in hand that play into this, Matt, but Seattle much further beneath on the table right now. And, well, St. Louis wants to be in this top 10. They want to be in that top 8, and this is a chance to go get it.
Oh, absolutely. Seattle Sounders have 13 games left in the season. St. Louis have got 20 games played, so they've got games in hand on the teams around them. So it's a great opportunity for both teams, but when you've got your home field advantage, you've got to take care of business, and that's exactly what St. Louis want to do tonight, and Andy Pulis is expecting that of his team.
Giant 3 points on the line here. Giant 9 points over this homestand for St. Louis FC, who are finally getting healthy. And, Matt, when you think about this St. Louis side, it's one that's just been bitten constantly. The injury bug, a late goal here or there, and you think for Anthony Pulis, he called it relief away to Reno. That's the toughest win this team has maybe gotten in its franchise history. That's a team in Reno that's been on one of the best tears in the USL that we've seen in recent years.
That's a really good team that they beat last time out. And the interesting thing and the positive thing that Anthony Pulis, his team, is showing is that they have some resilience. It's something that they didn't display the last time I saw them play against Las Vegas Lights. They were really poor in the second 45 minutes. However, since then, they've come back, they've got a draw, they've got a win. Both games they had to score late to get those results, and that's the important thing. They're finding ways to get the results and show resilience, which at different times in the season they just haven't had.
St. Louis in the green, it's the white jerseys for Seattle Sounders FC2. We're underway. Toyota Stadium. Giant game for both these teams' ambitions of making a playoff run, as it's knocked ahead by Sam Fink, the hero away to Reno last time out. And you think about wins for both these teams. Most recent games, St. Louis against Reno, and Las Vegas, a 3-0 drubbing the hands of Seattle. That's the first win for these two teams going back to June the 9th and June the 10th, the same weekend about 7 weeks ago. So finally, back on their winning ways.
Oh, you're wondering if they were going to come out in the 3-4-3, the home team, and that's exactly what they have.
Reynolds over the top, Kyle Gregg tried to clip that off of Sam Rogers. It's going to be a goal kick for Callie Brown.
Looks like Kavita is in the center area of the defensive three. Fink on the right and Reynolds on the left.
And Reynolds really is center back in recent years, but you look at the other two, they could have played wide. Culbertson could drop in. There are a lot of ways this could have gone, and in reality, it looks like they'll start with a 3 and go from there.
Be interested to see if there are some adjustments made. I think Anthony Pulis is trying to counter the speed out wide that Sounders 2 have. Mentioned Usman and Popeo. Ulisi as well is very quick.
Albert Dequa. Wall Fall. No foul there, just a handful of contact.
Was Hilton there trying to find a way to get on the ball. It's like he's being a holding midfielder in front of the back three. Hilton has really impressed me this year. The Independents last year, sometimes he would be a little bit impetuous, lose his temper. He is so competitive. This year he's shown a bit more maturity and really become a leader for this team in St. Louis.
Wall fall. Will sky it over the top. Header down is saved away from the line. The follow-up from Greg is in. There's an appeal for offside. It won't come. Giant goal for St. Louis. Kyle Culbertson, the first header. But in the end, it's Kyle Gregg with his 8th of the year.
Not the start that Sounders 2 wanted. Wallfall collects the ball, looks up, curls it into the back post. Great header, fantastic save. But Brown could only parry it back onto the foot of Culbertson. And he calmly slots it across to Gregg. And that's probably one of the easier goals that Gregg will score.
The replay of that St. Louis FC goal delivered by Domino's and Kyle Gregg. 3rd minute, goal number 8 of the season. Guy scored 13 last year.
St. Louis FC goal, his 8th of the season, scored by number 22.
It's exactly the start that you want for the home team. Get the fans excited, get the fans involved. Put a fragile Sounders 2 on the back foot.
Kyle Culbertson just got an assist out of this deal. I think he's a lucky boy. So smoke flying out. St. Louis an early lead in this affair. 5 of their 6 wins this year have come by way of shutout. So, of course, 5-1-2 when they score first. As this will get out for a goal kick for Seattle. Yikes.
That's an easy stat when you only have 4 wins on the season.
Well, we talked about the goal scoring. It's Estrada and everybody else. It's a young team in a lot of positions for Seattle, and well, they haven't been all that lucky either, to be fair.
I've had the luck to go against them. And John Hutchinson, he's had a lot of players in and out of the lineup. We talk about it all the time. When you have the loan deals with the Major League Soccer clubs and players are coming and going, it can really be a headache for the coaches in the USL. Not only the opposition coaches, but the coaches of the team when you're trying to figure out who you are being able to travel.
You know, funny thing about Anthony Pulis this week, he described a 3 or a 4-back look from Seattle, and that he's trying to get his players ready one way or the other, and then he comes out with a total left hook, throws a 3-back, and it's Culbertson who got forward and headed that ball down. Ulisi. Wingo. Shipped along Miglietti. Ball knocked away before Ledbetter arrived. Wingo. Ulisi. This is good back and forth right now from Seattle. Daly has legs caught out under him. Pierre Da Silva, who is still here. That was a question coming into the game. They had a 2-week loan, and, well, now Da Silva part of the team for a little while longer.
Well, he keep making crunching tackles like that, he'll be a fan favorite in no time.
He was in Orlando. It just the timing was never right for him. He was number 1 on the USL's 20 under 20 last year.
He's a talented player. Seems to have a lot of time on the ball. You see right there as he receives the pass, you'll see it from a lot of these players at this level, just looking around to see where the pressure's coming from, see where the teammates are. Those that are best at it do it quickly and have the thought process going through their brain so smoothly that they're able to find the open player. Culbertson did get the assist on the goal, and it was his header, and then he calmly collected the parried attempt from the goalkeeper and found Greg right in the top. Wasn't even at the top of the 6, it was well inside the 6 to slot it home.
This is kept in play by Seattle.
Fall there trying to cover a lot of ground to collect it. In the end, his touch just lets him down.
Chance to maybe break through here. Played across toward Greg. Dequa couldn't combine.
Important header there from Rogers.
Well, it's talking to Daly.
Just lost his footing as he goes into the challenge. Well, unfortunate there. Either way, it is a foul.
As Lewis, Hilton, and Pierre da Silva stand behind the ball. Will be da Silva. Got it up and over. Fink put his head to that.
It's too early in the game for Fink's heroics, though.
You were asking about what it's like being on the plane home from Reno after all that. Imagine pretty good. I think Fink, a bit of a ringleader.
Long trips home are always better after you've won a game.
That's some dynamite analysis, Matt. But they haven't felt that in a while. I'd imagine the last 7 weeks, you hear it in Anthony Pulis's voice. They've been difficult on them.
It is difficult, and you end up just carrying the burden. Doesn't weigh any heavier on anybody other than the head coach, but everybody on the squad feels it.
Fink trying to seek out Dequa. Wrapped up Reynolds. As Callie Brown will come out, formerly the goalkeeper for Rio Grande Valley Toros, most notably.
He'll be a little frustrated with himself on the goal. Did so well to make the initial save from the Culbertson header. Just to see his effort go straight to the foot of number 5 for St. Louis. It was like the ironic cheers from the crowd. The ball goes straight out.
It's a throw for Fink and St. Louis. Trailing away, LA. And Brown knocks it ahead. Away from Ulysses.
You see Culbertson there tracking Ulysses the whole way. That's why Pulis has made the change he has, put Ledbetter and Culbertson further up the pitch so that players like Ulysses and Usman can't go forwards with gay abandon. They've got to be a little bit more conservative. See Usman on that far sideline trying to stretch out the back three. Ledbetter looking over his right shoulder to see where number 34 is.
Daly does well here to help facilitate the switch. Wingo trot over,
That's Culbertson behind him. Da Silva got in. Reynolds ultimately kicks that out. Reynolds involved again. Lamar Nagel shoved aside. We saw him pregame, but Nagel over 200 appearances in Major League Soccer, scored over 24 goals for the Sounders in MLS. Miglietti in really immense pain here, rolling around and grabbing at his left boot.
I imagine that somebody stepped on his toe, which doesn't feel good. He'll get a lot of protection from the boots.
Let's see if we can't get a better look at this here. Bottom left of your screen.
Greg just stepped on him, incidental contact. Very late whistle from man in the middle. Referee Mr. Varga tonight.
I think on the other hand, his eyes were elsewhere, and once he realized what had gone on. Well, it's with Seattle here. Third-minute goal from Kyle Gregg. And it's a brilliant start for St. Louis at home. Miglietti reverses LA. Seattle does like to build out of the back, and they've been patient.
And one thing the back three will have to be careful of for St. Louis is that they don't track the checking runs of Nagel too far. And if they do, the outside players, Reynolds and Fink, have to make sure that they pinch behind Kavitar as he goes forwards.
Daly. Pompeo from Usman. Sam Rogers, the 19-year-old wearing the captain's armband on the night.
Is it wrong that every time I see him I want to say Captain Rogers?
It's marginally wrong. It's not right. Half-hearted attempt from Denzo Ulisi.
A huge bounce on the ball off of this surface. I thought Ulisi would have judged the flight a little bit better, maybe take it out of the air. I like the thought process from Sounders too, though. You see them, as you say, trying to play out the back, trying to switch the point of attack. Stretch St. Louis out. And here Anthony Pulis asking his team to stop the switch from happening.
Well, Captain Rogers got his boot elevated a bit. And Dequa felt like he got hit a bit above the neck. Da Silva away from Dequa. Nagel. Well, they tracked him to perfection that time around, didn't they? That's about right.
They absolutely did. And great play there from Da Silva. Takes his body and gets in front of Nagel and wins the foul very easily. Smart play from the young man. You see there, he just takes the ball to his right across the onrushing Nagel. Initiates the contact.
De Silva. Wall fall. Fink pushing forward. Hilton.
Decisions have to be made more quickly from St. Louis. Taking too many touches on the ball. In doing so, they're taking away some of their passing opportunities. So Dequa there, he had players on the outside. Ledbetter trying to get into the attacking third. That's the area of the pitch you need to take those risks. Play the ball forwards, have Ledbetter given the opportunity to run onto it deep into the attacking third, but
Reynolds mishit with Culbertson pushing ahead. There's the opposite head coach, John Hutchinson. Much talk about Anthony Pulis to this stage, but Hutchinson, an assistant for S2 last year, stepping up to the head coaching role this year. Major player in the Australia A-League in years past. Nice little back heel to set this up. De Silva. I wouldn't put it past him.
he has the ability. It's just a shame that the ball came central. Wall 4, who had started that move with that clever back heel, was wide open on the right flank. De Silva, things opened up as the back line of Sounders 2 backed off him, but really too ambitious from that distance, sliding his foot underneath the ball.
Rogers.
That was the right idea there from Miglietti. Trying to get the ball out to Alfaro. Pass was obviously not a good one. Both teams, they just need to take a little less time on the ball. I was talking about the rhythm of soccer, and 1- and 2-touch passes is the way to get into the rhythm of the game.
Chance for De Silva to get around. There's a foul. No advantage to play. And some extracurricular activities here. Hilton got shoved to ground. Laura Varga is going to have some work to do now.
Well, Hilton wants to take this quickly.
Ooh.
And LA steps in, and I'll be very surprised if there isn't a card. I'm not sure what color it will be.
I think he's really lucky here because it does look like his arms extend up around his neck, and part of that's just a height differential, but
And watching it in the flow of the action, my initial reaction was that Hilton probably instigated a little bit, and there was just the taller man standing his ground. Having seen the replay, I think LA is really lucky that that card was just yellow.
A yellow card caution has been issued by the referee to Seattle's number 92, Rodrigue Alay, in the 21st minute.
well, Hilton will line up behind this. Yellow card to Rodrigue Alay. Hilton. Well, Anthony Pulis said we have to stop kicking ourselves and find a way to get the first goal. They did that, 3rd minute. It's the earliest goal that Seattle has allowed this year for St. Louis. They have scored earlier once this year. It was their 2nd game of the season in San Antonio FC. Eventually fell in that game 2-1. have scored a 5th-minute goal here at home. Kyle Gregg against Colorado Springs. They did win that game. That was game number 3 the season. That all feels like a pretty distant memory at the present moment.
March seems a long way away.
It's amazing. We're on the back 9.
It's crazy.
We're like on the back 7 here.
I mean, it's amazing that March was so long in the past, but the season's gone so quickly.
The league announcing that the season will be 1 week longer next year, but they'll keep the 34-game schedule. There are rumors that it'll remain a 2-conference league going into next year, but nothing official one way or the other. There's been a lot of talk about where St. Louis would slot into that. I think right now they just like to stay in the same place for more than 1 year at a time. Advantage here. Wingo. Wingo striding in. Lissi slips it across. Hopeo got up high, and Fink put his body on the line. There's a foul short of the halfway line. And, you know, Matt, I think a lot's made about how top-heavy the Western Conference can be. And you look at LA Galaxy and Tulsa this year has fallen back towards the bottom of the league. And certainly RGV is down there right now, and Seattle is second to last. But St. Louis, they found the travel is more difficult. Certainly they're reacquainting themselves with another conference. It's not all peaches and cream.
Well, it's been difficult for St. Louis. The travel certainly has been an issue this year. Missing some of the natural rivalries that they would have geographically playing in the West.
They kind of luck into the Open Cup against Louisville, but that's about it in terms of the true regional ones.
It's been an interesting process. Certainly switching the conferences. We'll be interested to see how things shape up next season. I think adding the week will be of a huge benefit to all of the teams.
The teams in the South, maybe. I mean, the teams in the North are like, enough of this.
Well, just purely from a scheduling standpoint, and then spreading things out a little bit, and certainly with less shared facilities coming on board in the USL, it'll help with the scheduling, and as things move into next year.
Sounders trying to dig out of quite the hole, not just in this game, in this season. Still plenty of time to go, but away from Culbertson. This will be a goal kick for St. Louis. Think about Seattle. 6th place, made the playoffs in 2015, an expansion side, but 12th each of these last 2 seasons. They moved to Tacoma the start of the year, found really good crowds for S2. And, well, they're just trying to string it all together. You lose 6 consecutive games, and well, it's like the Titanic hitting an iceberg. It can really sink your season.
Certainly put a big hole in it. It's been a frustrating season for Sounders too. Such great support for the game of soccer in Seattle.
I think Tacoma, the South Sound, it has its home for it.
Oh, absolutely.
We've seen a couple teams sort of take that model and run with it quite well of late. They've got teams like St. Louis here in Fenton. They're packing out that far corner and most of the rest of the stadium most nights too. Fink really gave in to that. And the ball aimed for Gregg. Effort to slip it between the 2 central defenders.
Well, that was great work on both sides of the ball there. One from Fink to get in to win that ball. The pass was a good idea, just undercut a little bit. And Daly for Sounders 2 came in and won the possession back for the visitors. So far, St. Louis, Mike, have done a really good job of keeping things compact, not allowing any space for the speedsters of Sounders 2 to get out wide or behind the back three.
Rogers. Daly played it ahead. Hopeo is knocked down by wall fall. No such thing as a free lunch with wall fall in the area.
The best challenge from Fall. There will be a hydration break by the looks of things from what the referee indicated.
Well, it's all about player safety, and you think about tomorrow, Portland Timbers 2 are playing host to Phoenix. There's an extreme heat advisory for that, so they've moved that game up a couple hours. And, well, this one, the sun is setting. Hopefully by the second half, won't need a hydration break, but for now, everybody lays out. And for St. Louis, dream start. You come back home, you just mentioned earlier, got the monkey off your back, finally got a win. Anthony Pulis is able to get one early. It's John Hutchinson's side.
No, it's a great start for St. Louis, and as you say, dream start. You get the early opportunity, you find a way to put it into the back of the net, and then defensively you've been really solid in playing within the game plan and the framework that Anthony Pulis has put out. Here we see the replay of the goal. It was a fantastic header from the service from wall fall, just delivered to the back post. Textbook downward header, fantastic save from the goalkeeper, but he parries it straight back to the foot of Culbertson. He looks up and says, hey, I got a teammate there, Greg, right in the middle of the goal. I'll pass it to him to tap it home.
That's Kyle Gregg in a nutshell, isn't it? I mean, it's not that he's extraordinarily fast or extraordinarily tricky. He's a goal scorer. There are players like that, and Kyle Gregg in this league over the last 3-4 years has been that guy consistently. In this case, unlocks an opposition as early as St. Louis has at any point this year, Toyota Stadium.
And that's what you want from your striker. You don't have to be the fastest, but you need that understanding of positioning in the box and when to change pace, when to change direction to give you the space from the defender that's marking you. And that was an example there of Greg just knowing exactly where he needed to be to find a way to get the ball from Culbertson and framing the goal beautifully.
Well, after the wall fall foul on Hopeo, it's a free kick with Henry Wingo standing on the left. It will be Wingo! Ooh, he caught everybody off guard.
Fennelson wasn't breathing easy as he saw that one flying towards his net. I think it missed by a little bit more than it looked on first occasion, but Fennelson would have been struggling if that had a little bit more bend on it.
Fink able to clear this danger. As far out as Miglietti. Hopeo. And here's Rogers. He's moved from holding mid to center back. He's bounced around a little bit, Rogers.
St. Louis are going to have to be a little bit careful here, Mike. They're starting to get a little bit flat defensively. By that I mean in the shape in the back.
Miglietti's switch away from Ulissi. De Silva fouled, surrounded by Wingo and Nagel.
Again, the smartness of the player, understanding where he needs to put the ball, winning the foul. Collects it. I'll go right between the two of you, and I'll instigate some contact. I'll win the free kick. Thank you very much. Could have gone on the outside. Probably would have been an easier play, but he knew he had to slow things down. As the Sounders 2 get possession of the ball, Culbertson and Ledbetter are dropping back a little bit deep for my taste. They need to be a little bit further up the pitch if they can. What's happening is that St. Louis are ending up with a back 5 instead of a back 3. And what that means is it's very difficult for St. Louis to spring the counterattack because they have nowhere to go with the ball except up the middle of the pitch.
Culbertson, De Silva, and Rogers streams in and boots it out. When you get into that classic coach's discussion, our attacking shape versus our defending shape, right?
Absolutely.
That is the world's biggest misnomer. Well, yeah, it's 5 when we defend, but it's 3 when we attack. This ball sliced over the back line. Wall fall. A little pirouette around. Ball at his feet. Plays it short. Ledbetter. Oh, yeah! Phenomenal goal! St. Louis up by 2.
See what he can do when he gets further up the pitch. Finds himself 20 yards out, collects the ball, turns, measures the shot, and curls it in. It started back when De Silva won the free kick. It stopped the pressure from coming. Warfel finds Ledbetter. He's in space. He checked back from the defensive line of Sounders too. LA didn't go with the checking run. The space was there. And Ledbetter just curls it in with the right leg.
The replay of that St. Louis FC goal was delivered by Domino's. And Austin Ledbetter, his first of the season. I don't know why I'm doing this work. The public address guy's got it nailed down. And it's not that Seattle's played all that poorly or that St. Louis has played them off the field.
Well, St. Louis have just been organized enough defensively to stop the Sounders too from having the space that they need out wide to be successful. See Ledbetter getting over there quickly, Warfel coming over and help.
This is caught by, well, the quietest man all game, Jake Fennelson.
Well, read by the goalkeeper, but where Seattle are dangerous is out wide through the play of Usman and Arpaio. So far, St. Louis have been just organized enough to stop those 2 players from getting the ball in dangerous areas.
Dequa. St. Louis have a third in them this quickly. It's away from wall fall by Daly. First time this year that Seattle has gone on the road to St. Louis. They'll meet again in about a month's time. And it's not gone so well. St. Louis 2 goals for the first time in the first half this year.
Just seems some confusion from Seattle. Arpaio is doing his best to find a way to stop Hilton from getting the ball, but he needs some help. Hilton's been a huge part of the success that St. Louis have had in this game. In that holding midfield play, allowing Warfel to just go forwards. There's Hilton again on the ball, passing it back to Reynolds. And almost all the time the back 3 get the ball, Hilton's finding a way to make a checking run in support. And when he does get the ball, right like that, he's able to get it on the half turn and get the ball going forwards. I think Hutchinson needs to find a way to get either Miglietti or Daly further up the pitch to stop Hilton from being in that space in front of the back 3 and just receiving the ball as and when he wants it.
Another look at the foul here.
Farah there just high in the back of Greg. And A forward just fills the ball the hand between the shoulder blades. They'll go down pretty easily. And they'll get the foul. You see the front three for Sounders too. They just got their eyes forward, looking at the defending three of the home team, but they're not finding a way to stop Hilton from getting the ball. There he is right there. Nagel let him go.
He wings around and finds Culbertson, who slices it on the turn. Dequa dispossessed. It's a great standing challenge by Daly. This has the feel of a young team. So Tony Alfaro is going back to get the ball. He's 25 years old. Lamar Nagel, playing up front, is 31 years old. Outside of that, Brown 25, Wingo 22. No one else can go to a bar and legally get a drink. And that's sort of the catch-22. That's the toughest area of the field to try and handle, the Lewis Hiltons, isn't it?
Definitely is. You got to look at those experienced players like Nagel to be the leaders to step up. That's why they're there in the lineup, to help these youngsters learn the game. But also Miglietti and Daly, they've got to learn on the run and figure out that Hilton's getting the ball in the midfield area. One of them should be able to step up. You've got 4 defenders defending 3 forwards. That should be easily handled for Sounders too. So therefore you then have 3 central midfielders trying to defend 2 central midfielders in Wolf Hall and Hilton. Logistically, you should be able to figure that one out too.
De Silva. Hilton.
Too many touches there from Hilton. Looking straight at Culbertson. He has to find a way to release that ball quicker, make the decision sooner. Could have collected the ball with the control and then made the pass. Ended up dribbling the ball towards Culbertson, taking 4 or 5 more touches. And essentially just invited the pressure. Put Culbertson into a difficult situation.
Free kick conceded by Miglietti. Coming up at our Hollywood Casino halftime, tell you a bit about St. Louis FC's academy that's off and running. USL had some great highlights in week 20. We'll show you some of the best. Austin Bold is entering the league. We'll show you the branding, some league news and notes. Expansion continues. Highlights and stats from the first half that was. You know, Austin Bold's logo was solid in its own right. I saw a version that was made into a bolo tie, and now that's, I'd buy that. If we're gonna, St. Louis FC scarves, if we're gonna have Austin Bold bolo ties, I'm a collector.
You're all over it.
I'm a collector. I'm the kind of guy who would drop my nacho cheese sauce on that stuff. Anywho, Miglietti. Crossfield, Ulisi. Ulisi got taken out by De Silva. De Silva is going to get booked. It's a yellow card.
Easy one from Mr. Varga. Ulisi's got a great change of pace. Fantastic top speed too. De Silva was very late to a party he wasn't invited to on that occasion.
You know, there are fouls that happen in the run of play where you go, oh, it was, you know, looking worse than it really was. That was about right. That was.
It looked bad in the run of play, looked bad in the replay. See St. Louis here lining up. Seen Louisville doing this kind of defensive lineup of late as well in the Eastern Conference.
Well, Wingo's not behind the ball, so Fennelson can breathe a short sigh of relief. Daly. Headers popped up and out, but whistle blows from the referee here. Alfaro had gotten forward.
It might have been an offside decision. There was another infraction that Mr. Vargas saw. Fennelson will take the free kick.
Be sure to visit one of 7 local St. Louis area Toyota dealers. Toyota Stadium, the site. 2-0 in favor of St. Louis FC over Seattle Sounders FC 2. Is this the first of a 3-game homestand for St. Louis at Toyota Stadium? Hilton brought down well. Shot is on and wide. Wall fall. He had been looking for Dequa.
He certainly owes a thumbs up there to Hilton. That was a delicious ball served in from Hilton. Beautifully collected from Wall-Fall. It was deflected out for a corner kick. Dequa was lurking at the far post as well. That was a beautiful passage of play from the home team. Great vision. Look at the backspin on that. Collected beautifully. Just out for the corner kick.
For every goal scored by St. Louis FC off a corner kick, Electro Savings will be donating $100 to a local St. Louis charity. This is an Electro Savings corner kick. Da Silva. Fake. Nearly delicious enough to be another Domino's goal.
Fink was there. So was Ulysses. Tracking the run all the way.
Well, it's arts and crafts time at the bottom of your screen. The 4th official is actively putting the 3 on the board as opposed to the 4. It's a hydration break in this first half. There it is. That's fine handiwork.
Did he have to make that board, or was it provided for him?
It's a wonderful question. It's with an assistant referee at a game last week who wasn't working the game. The AR for the game forgot his flags. And so he drove over and dropped off his flags, watched the game, and then took them home. So I don't know if he brought the board. That's a great question. You feel like that's part of the referee starter kit, but
I'm more surprised that the flags were forgotten. I'm not surprised that another referee had them in his car.
Wingo. It's Wingo now. Usman. Well, frustration reigning here. Flag was up. Well, one flag was up. There's another that's just entered the fray. Top of your screen.
That one's just a little bit bigger.
You can't forget that flag.
No.
Yeah. Oh.
Although the people behind you that you're waving in front of might wish that you had.
I don't know. I think there's something to be said for extraordinary forearms. That's what that gentleman must have.
Two 2-0 up with a minute to go before the halftime break. I think the home fans will excuse a little bit of flag waving.
Slid away from Dequa by Ulysses.
Reynolds for Fennelson. I think the good crowd on hand. Happy to see the team trot up the stairs. Up 2-0 at the half. Little deflection towards wall fault. De Silva. Referee blows for halftime. Well, Matt, if you're St. Louis, you're ecstatic. If you're Seattle, you're despondent. It's that similar result on the road. They just can't seem to put it all together.
You got to find an answer to stop Hilton from getting the ball. He did everything right just before the halftime whistle, only to let the pressure go on the far sideline. And they've got to find an answer to that conundrum that they are faced with if they're going to get back into this game. But that man there going up the stairs, Hilton, he's been the difference maker. He's been able to get on the ball and find his teammates pretty much at will. There's been some really good goals scored in this match.
The Hollywood Casino halftime is coming up. Highlights and stats from the half that was. A look at the Academy's hard work. Well, the fans are off to go get pretzels, some nacho cheese, and maybe a drink as well. 2-0 in favor of St. Louis at home. Culbertson does all the work. Greg the poacher and Ledbetter. Wow. Back with more after this.
Event, we've got the last of the 2018s and super low APR financing.
Maybe that's why they go so fast.
Okay, that's got to be a record.
Right now at Toyota's National Clearance Event, you can get incredible deals on the last of the 2018s. Offers end September 4th. To learn more about all our great deals, visit Toyota.com.
Save on the last of the 2018s. Come in today.
Toyota, let's go places.
A lottery ticket is so much more than a piece of paper. It's wonder, opportunity, dreams. And not just for players. 100% of the profits from every Missouri Lottery ticket you play goes back to schools, teachers, and students. Play it forward with the Missouri Lottery.
When you need quality electrical work for your home or business, look to theelectricalconnection.org. Created as a partnership between IBEW Local 1 electricians and the St. Louis chapter of the National Electrical Contractors Association, the Electrical Connection has been setting the standard for electrical excellence in St. Louis for over 100 years. You can depend on our highly skilled and trained workforce, your #1 source for quality electrical and communication contractors, electricalconnection.org.
Herzog will launch again, this time Fall getting something on it. The header comes in, and it's a winning goal! Sam Fink, the captain, with the winner with just a minute left to play, and St. Louis finally converting on their man advantage. Might just get 3 vital away points.
St. Louis FC and Seattle Sounders FC2 at halftime as we welcome you in to the Hollywood Casino halftime report. The St. Louis FC Academy is back on the training ground as they set out to improve on their accomplishments from last season. We were there for the first day of preseason camp. Take a look.
Welcome. We'll go ahead and get started. Really good to see you guys again. You look around the facilities, it's not, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out why we come here. The first-class facilities from the dorms to this here, which is a training field and is better than most game fields that we'll play on all year.
Well, the purpose of this camp is to get ready for the regular season.
The benefits of this camp would be getting to know each other, just kind of getting to see how we play.
You get familiar, you're staying with, you know, your team, who's going to be your second family for the next 10, 11 months. And so you already kind of know each other.
So just getting new faces, like getting a little team chemistry, hanging out with them, It's more just as a team bonding thing.
It's secluded. It's far enough away that it feels like you're going somewhere, but not so far away that it's hard to get there. And it allows us to essentially catalyze the season. It's a fertilizer where we can get a lot done in a short amount of time. When they see the badge on your chest and they know you're associated with this club, what do you want them to say about you and your teammates?
I walk around and I have the badge on my chest. I mean, everyone knows I play for Gallagher STLFC, and it's just, I love representing the club, and being an academy player, I know that it'll push me to be the best player that I can be.
I think the role of an academy is going to be different in every club, and that's going to be affected by the culture of the city that they're in, the history of the club, you know, the goals of the first team, and so we want it to be represented with players from St. Louis. You're in a club that signs and plays players that come from that club. If you look at the players from St. Louis, both in our first team, but also that are playing professionally, there's a huge number of players, right? So you guys are fortunate.
It feels great just to feel like you're one of the best in Missouri and one of the best teams in Missouri, you can say. So it just feels good. There's kids looking up to you. So you got to be respectful in public places and just like know that people are looking up to you.
I think it's an opportunity to represent not just yourself and your family, but your community and the club, what the city stands for, what the club stands for, themselves, their families, the core values of the organization. That's a privilege that they have, and they get to do it while playing a game that they love.
St. Louis FC set to return home. Game 2 of their 3-game homestand against Las Vegas Lights. Yes, that's Freddie Adu scoring a goal in 2018. You aren't going to want to miss the Lights, one of the premier attractions in the USL's Western Conference this year. Tickets are still available. Join us at the Toyota Stadium for that one. Still plenty of Hollywood Casino halftime ahead, and we'll show you some of the very best from Week 20 in the United Soccer League. Take a look.
What a goal! Sandoval with an incredible bicycle! How did that go in?
Nice through ball for Williams, he scores!
Takes it to the byline, squares it across, they score!
Dennis still on the move, showing great strength. Dennis lets it fly! Sensational from Aaron Dennis, he equalizes in the 72nd minute.
Chang inside to Sebastian Velasquez, shot and a goal! Sebastian Velasquez!
What did I tell you? That's the Monarchs game.
Cuts back to his left foot, he's gonna chip the keeper! Oh, an early goal! Sensational from Anthony Burke-Gilroy! Sounders on top in the 2nd minute.
Here, Rasmussen strikes on goal, and it's in the back of the net. Rasmussen has put OKC in front, 1-0.
Here's Stroud in the 18, takes a shot and buries it far post at the start.
Point blank save!
Bonomo the touch, Fleming's the shot.
Quick run up, straight into Ferrigno. A shot, and what a save. Malcolm. Ball ricochets out in front, and a save by Cardoni.
Coffin leaves a shot, Serta knocks it down.
Long strike, and a spectacular save by Restrepo. Knocked away by Marcinkowski.
Through. Could this be a chance for Fernando? Up by Kuzminski, again blocked by Kuzminski.
This will come to Dillon. Nice save again by McIntosh.
More pressure, right side, shot taken, Mizell denies again.
Taylor with an effort, a good save.
As Rasmussen will strike from a long way out, forcing a brilliant save.
Here's a shot, and what a save there from Tambakis.
Left-footed ball from Vukovic, curling there, header, and a save.
Bird into space, save.
Isaac Diaz, the shot, and the goal.
Into the 18, out!
One-time rip and a goal!
Here, Brody's inside the 18. Brody with a shot! And a goal!
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees.
There's really only one place where the carpets are always red and the stars are everywhere you look. There's no place like Hollywood. Hollywood Casino St. Louis.
A lottery ticket is so much more than a piece of paper. It's wonder, opportunity, dreams. And not just for players. 100% of the profits from every Missouri Lottery ticket you play goes back to schools, teachers, and students. Play it forward with the Missouri Lottery.
Herzog will launch again. This time Fall getting something on it. The header comes in, and it's a winning goal! Sam Fink, the captain, with the winner with just a minute left to play, and St. Louis finally converting on their man advantage. Might just get 3 final away points.
Ah, another truckload of Toyotas. What a sight.
Yeah, during Toyota's national clearance event, we've got the last of the 2018s. And super low APR financing.
Maybe that's why they go so fast.
Okay, that's got to be a record.
Right now at Toyota's national clearance event, you can get incredible deals on the last of the 2018s. Offers end September 4th. To learn more about all our great deals, visit Toyota.com.
Save on the last of the 2018s. Come in today.
Toyota, let's go places.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees.
There's really only one place where the carpets are always red and the stars are everywhere you look. There's no place like Hollywood. Hollywood Casino St. Louis.
A lottery ticket is so much more than a piece of paper. It's wonder, opportunity, dreams. And not just for players. 100% of the profits from every Missouri Lottery ticket you play goes back to schools, teachers, and students. Play it forward with the Missouri Lottery.
Welcome back to the Hollywood Casino halftime. St. Louis FC 2 and Seattle Sounders FC 2 0. As the fans are all on ESPN Plus right now because they want to see the highlights that we're about to show you. Matt Stubbington, Mike Watts, here are the Hollywood Casino first half highlights. And for St. Louis FC, you couldn't dream of a better start than this, and this is try again.
Well organized, the team in the first half, and right in the beginning of the game, ball played back to Warfel. He measures across, curls it in beautifully. Culbertson from the left mid position comes in, textbook header down. The goalkeeper Brown makes a fantastic save, but just parries it back to the foot of Culbertson, and he just calmly slots it across the 6 and says, "Hey Greg, have one of the easiest goals you'll ever score." This was probably the one bright spot for Sounders 2 in the first half, off the foot of Wingo on the free kick. It's just more of the same. Better organization from the home team. Ball involved again. He finds Ledbetter. He's checked back to the ball a little bit. Nobody goes with him. He turns around, finds himself in a lot of space. Says, "Hey, why don't I have a crack with my right foot and bend it past the diving Brown into the back of the net for the 2-0 lead."
That in the 34th minute, that shot on the free kick. Henry Wingo was the 31st minute, so that's how tight things were there. Nothing on target for Seattle Sounders 2 in that first half. And that's simply not good enough. But they did have possession of the ball and move forward at times and maybe pull St. Louis a little bit out of position.
They did have a little bit of possession, but they've got to move the ball forwards more quickly. And I make a comment from both teams that at times there was too many touches played on the ball, which is taking some of the passing opportunities away. You've got the speed up top and out wide that Sounders too have. They have to find a way to get the ball quickly up the field and in behind the back three of St. Louis. They're just not doing it. And then when the ball is turned over and St. Louis get the ball back, Hilton is doing a fantastic job of checking back, receiving the passes, and getting the ball on the half turn and finding his teammates up the pitch.
Well, here's the latest news and notes. John Hackworth, the former U17 USA coach, is now the head coach for Louisville City. He'll join the club in about a week and a half's time. Chattanooga is now a D3 side starting next year. USL D3 launches, and the regular season, we mentioned it earlier, it's going to be the same number of games. They're going to expand the season out a bit.
It's really going to be good for all of the teams to expand the season, just give a little bit more rest to these players, and just more excitement in the USL, and the D3 is going to be a real good progression to the game of soccer in the United States. And I know the fans in Louisville are really happy and excited by the signing of John Hackworth there.
Big news there. The triumvirate has come and gone.
I think the triumvirate is a little bit relieved.
Luke Spencer and Paolo Del Piccolo and George Davis have been coaching Louisville City as co-player coaches for, what, 3-4 weeks now?
It's been 4 weeks, and I know you and I have spoken to Luke Spencer, and I think they've enjoyed the coaching side of it as far as practice is concerned and what have you, but they don't enjoy those difficult conversations of who's having playing time or not.
Well, there's some big news for you. The stud scorer for Sounders 2, Estrada, has come on at halftime. Can David Estrada help turn the tide for Seattle? Will they go softly back to the West Coast? St. Louis at home, 1/6 of the way through their homestand, trying to bag 3 early points. They have yet to put together a 3-game win streak this year, and you look at this as a prime opportunity. Dylan Tevez has come on as well at halftime. So a couple changes for Seattle as they try and pick apart St. Louis a little bit better. Service across from Usman. Fennelson's got it. Look, Sacramento's a very solid team, home and road, but Las Vegas right now is a little bit lost. And you look at this Seattle team, theoretically, St. Louis, they can put 3 wins together. Well, they're right on the lip of the playoffs there, depending on how other teams around them perform.
If you can get those 9 points, it does put you right back in the playoff picture.
Dequa. .43 in white. You saw Tevez there a moment ago. Run coming up the right-hand channel. At the feet of Nagel. Ball fired toward the penalty spot. Nothing doing there. Tevez keeping play alive. Ulysses.
With the substitutions, John Hutchinson is sending a message to his team. And at the early going in this second half, it seems like they've listened. A lot more energy about Sounders too.
Fennelson out of Akron arrived late after an injury to Tomas Gomez, but a couple games ago, 2 soft goals and Gomez onto the bench for the time being. We were asking whether or not Gomez was entirely healthy. The answer appears to be yes, but Fennelson getting his chance again here. At the start of the year, he performed well while Gomez was returning from a hip injury.
If he's practicing well, give him some reward. Well, if he keeps distributing the ball like that, Gomez might be playing next week. Silly foul from Tevez.
Tevez has committed to the University of Washington. You look at the Sounders Academy, and right now it feels like they're a bit of a feeder. Kavita spins around. Tevez now. This is Alfaro. Shannon Hopeo came out the halftime break. Nagel still onto his left. He lays it through. Arriving now, Usman. Off of Ledbetter. Corner on the way for S2.
Sounders 2 getting up the pitch quicker. Trying to find a way to use the pace that they have outside. Nagel, again, too many touches on the ball. Maybe could have slotted the ball through a little bit quicker.
Service winding across. Alfaro, header is up and over. St. Louis has dodged a giant bullet. Looked like Wingo on that final header.
It was a long corner kick, played all the way across, and just a poor defensive header from St. Louis. It was Rogers that put the ball over the crossbar. It was Gregg on the defensive header, flicking it onto the head of Rogers.
Estrada. There's Wingo. Estrada. Wingo. Wingo looks aside. Tevez. Comes back over to Alfaro. Just his second start this year with S2. Usman. Flag still down. Estrada crossing, leaping header. Nothing there. Tevez. Give it a ride. Dequa. Brought down by Daly from behind. Yellow card is coming for Jesse Daly, his fourth this year in just under 800 minutes.
Daly's saying that he got the ball, but it was, he may well have got the ball, but the leg came up after the challenge. Dequa certainly tripped up from that sliding tackle from Daly. I think he may be a little bit unfortunate to get the yellow card. I think maybe that the leg came up. Of course, it didn't help that he then talked back to the referee too, but what you want to do when you've been under some pressure for the first 6 minutes of the second half, you get a break with the free kick and deliver it straight out of bounds to your opposition.
LA, who's Cameroon's U20 team. Rogers. Wingo. Does well to find Tevez streaming forward. Daly. Good curling ball to set him up. Usman off a Ledbetter. It's another corner for Seattle.
Usman spent more time in the attacking third this half than he did in the entire 45 minutes in the first half.
Good combination play. Estrada deflects away. Reynolds was there defensively for St. Louis. Nobody back to counter right now. St. Louis entirely on their heels.
He's still pretty organized defensively. A little surprised that Estrada didn't have a go at the near post. But Fennelson back in numbers with the green shirts. They've got to find a way to break this pressure that Sounders too are putting on them at the moment.
Daly, the Australian. Tavez. Ball slipped through. Kavita allowing Fennelson take over. '54th minute here. St. Louis 2-goal advantage over Seattle. Game 1 of 3 in this homestand. Next it'll be Las Vegas. Pressure coming. Wingo is there. Great save, Fennelson. He came out, closed it down.
All took a long time to develop. That allowed Fennelson the opportunity to come across.
Wingo ran out of real estate.
Wingo will be really disappointed with this effort. Ball was delivered very nicely to him. Maybe he should have used his left peg. Look at that, what it means to Fink. Goalkeeper did really well. Stands tall, stands strong. Made it very difficult. Again, I think Wingo, if he could have bent that in with his left leg, he'd have put the goalkeeper under some more pressure.
Chance to slip in behind. Falls short, Kavita. And, well, you said it earlier, didn't you? The distribution right now from Fennelson is not good enough.
Sometimes that can be the difference between being a starting goalkeeper and being on the bench.
How many times do we hear about the goalkeeper that's a better shot stopper and the one that's a better distributor? And probably 10 years ago, the shot stopper starts every time, but it's not really the case anymore, is it?
It isn't. And goalkeepers at this level, there's probably very little to choose between them as far as their ability at stopping the shots, collecting the crosses. But when your defenders are a lot more comfortable playing the ball back to you, and you can restart the offense with more confidence, you can be a real asset to the team. And Fennelson at the moment has been really a disappointment as far as that side of his game is concerned. Certainly seen that he can stop the shots, though. That is not a disappointment.
Fennelson being backed in. It's a calm, simple decision. It's what the doctor ordered. Ball fall. Fink. It's been a more active Seattle midfield pushing upfield in this second half.
Trying to anticipate the game a little bit more. First half they were reacting. Well, we did see a little moment there from Daly as the ball came into the midfield. Warfall just did a really good job of separating from Daly. Daly was slow to react. When he did so, though, he did with energy and caused some problems for St. Louis.
You see just how steep a mountain it is. Seattle to try and find 2, if not 3. Ledbetter able to slip this through. Gregg tries to get there. Now Brown dives out in front of De Silva. Now Ledbetter could have gone for goal there. Instead, looked to be unselfish.
Ended up being really well worked by St. Louis. A little bit about against the run of play. Some home field bounces going their way. But in the end, it was Brown quickly off his line to take the ball off the foot of De Silva.
Culbertson. Here comes De Silva. One of the most electrifying players you'll see in this league. De Silva on the other end now. Dispossessed. Daly up the line, Usman. Wingo. Knocked out by Ledbetter, who scored in the 34th minute. May have had another one here if everything gone the right way.
Well, it was Ledbetter trying to find Greg. Greg didn't control the ball. Ended up finding his way through almost onto the foot of De Silva. Fine goalkeeping. Really set up from Wolf Hall, receiving the pass from Fink. Again, 1 or 2 touches on the passes from the home team, playing with more rhythm. Wolf Hall again doing a great job of separating in that midfield area, finding ways to get on the ball.
It's worth noting that Rodriguez did a bit of a job there too at center back. Looked like he made just a little delicate touch.
Sometimes that's all it needs, that little touch. Take the ball off the foot of Greg.
Alfaro pushing it ahead. There's Rogers. He probably had the best opportunity for Seattle in this game. Header near goal. And an 18-yard box scrum. Alfaro, a former second-round pick of the Sounders out of Cal State Dominguez Hills. School that perhaps most prominently put Kai Kamara out.
Good approach there from Greg, and Dequart defensively, keeping things on this near sideline. Now St. Louis to remain compact defensively.
Only Atlanta, out of the 33 teams in USL, have fewer second half goals on the road. Seattle trying to change that narrative here. Wingo. Wingo off a Ledbetter. Wall Fall is there. And, you know, once in a while we see a team like this where they just can't buy a win on the road. Tampa Bay last year in the East certainly drew everybody's attention. It seemed like even against the bottom, the lowest common denominator, they couldn't figure it out, but they were so dynamite at Al Lang Stadium that it became somewhat irrelevant. There's a foul on the far side. Kavita brought down. Nagel, the guilty party.
I remember the Rowdies last year. They were so strange. They were so dominant at home. Then you take them away from St. Petersburg, and it was like 2 different teams. Seattle, they just haven't been good either at home or away.
Ball slipped through. Dequan was the target.
What makes it even more confusing for me as far as Sounders 2 is concerned, because they have the tools. They have some really good players, exciting players. Estrada, Usman, Opeo. Now they got Nagel as well, Ulisi. Just tremendous players. Somehow they just haven't found a way to put it all together to get the good ball in the back of the net so they can get the result.
Dequa out. Substitution brought to you by G&W Meats. As Tony Walls checking in Dequa's place. Very much a defensive-minded, salt the game away kind of change.
And you see from the hand gestures from Tony Walls, Antibulis is making a tactical change, not happy with the way things are going in the second half. Straight across to Lewis, to Hilton.
Well, and this may allow Hilton to get a little further forward and let Tony Walls play that intercepting, pass breakup kind of player. Lewis Hilton's unique. You could really play him in a number of roles and not feel like he's out of place.
He's just one of those workman-like players that you need in your squad.
Off a Ledbetter ball, whipped across. It's too far out front of Estrada. I mean, you could play him the 6, the 8, the 10, and in any of those places, you'd feel like Lewis Hilton would improve your team.
I think you're right, and again, because he has such a good work rate and understanding of the game, and those are the type of players that you want to have in your team. You're not necessarily building your team around him, because you want your stars, but those are the players that complement the stars. They're the players that get the ball to the stars so that they can put the ball into the back of the net for you.
Well, I just found out that Matt Stubbington's idea of a star is a goal scorer. Alfaro trying to be a star. It's just, why shortchange? Maybe he is one of the stars. It's a conversation for another time.
Well, he's a star in a different way.
Absolutely. And that's the funny thing about this is when Tony Walls comes in, there's now a new pairing in that holding midfield position. All of a sudden they get to work together in a different dynamic, and Lewis Hilton can just slide right into that dynamic.
Again, which makes him even more valuable. But without the Lewis Hiltons of the world, the Kyle Greggs don't get the job done, because otherwise the ball's always in the defensive half.
Alfaro bops it ahead. Slip through Nagel. We'll find Jesse Daly. Fennelson arguing that Daly came through and sort of tried to stomp at the ball. You be the judge. Well, it does kind of come down on that right foot area, doesn't he?
Well, Fennelson was asking for the challenge, messing around like that, so I understand why the goalkeeper was upset.
Understand why the field player's upset, too.
No.
This ball curving aside from Wingo.
Some frustration there from Wingo. As well as the Sounders too have played in the second half. They still haven't really created a whole heck of a lot.
Seattle's making their final move here. It's Nick Hines on Ibrahim Usman. So Tevez, Estrada, and Nick Hines are the 3 subs that John Hutchinson will go to in this match.
A reminder, fans, that alcohol sales will end at the 70th minute. The Budweiser Beer Garden will reopen after the final whistle.
Foul at the halfway line. Denso Lissi, player down, Haitian youth national teamer. You and I have seen him a couple times this year, and he's one of those young players that really pops off the screen at you.
He does, and just so quick on the ball. Which is all part of the question of why Sounders 2 haven't been successful, because they have players like him in the lineup.
Well, you look at him, and he's still only 20 years old. Comes with the territory a bit, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but you look across the globe, and there are plenty of young players being successful at all kinds of levels in the professional game.
This ball sliced through the area. Wingo off the crossbar and the post. Right off the tee. Wingo seems intent on curling one into the corner before the night's done.
23.
Hines sought out Estrada at the post.
I think the net's still moving from that ball from Wingo that hit the crossbar. Maybe one of those wake-up moments for St. Louis that they got to play a little bit further up the pitch, find a way to get hold of the ball a little bit.
Those moments do bring a bit of a visceral, notable reaction. Hines did pull the trigger. Well, continues a run of, if not for bad luck, no luck at all right now for Seattle. Trying to avoid 10 winless on the road this year. And how about this?
Beautifully struck, measured shot from Wingo. Didn't try to overpower it. Wasn't able to steer it inside that upper corner.
You can see his quality, can't you?
Absolutely.
Earlier you mentioned it looked like frustration. He put a curling ball up and wide. I'm thinking, no, I think he knows what he wants.
He certainly did on that opportunity. The one earlier was just from further out. Didn't see any support coming.
Suburban Fenton. Foul from behind in transition. De Silva is looking for a card here. There it comes. Lamar Nagel goes into the book. His second yellow card in this, his third appearance for S2 this year. Former USL MVP at work here.
Just a little bit more frustration from the visitors. Trying to slow things down.
Change coming here. A substitution brought to you by G&W Meats. Joey Calistri set to enter into the equation. Wall Fall does start this time, won't finish.
Substitution for St. Louis FC, leaving the game, number 17, Wall Fall.
The substitution brought to you by G&W Meats, Bavarian style sausage company.
In the 70th minute.
Pulis trying to shore up the midfield.
By the referee to Seattle's number 27, Lamar Nagel, in the 70th minute.
There have been times this year where you look down the bench and you don't see very much depth. Calistri, example of finally getting that depth back. Estrada trying to get Daly through. Fink, that wasn't very convincing. Tevez. Alfaro plays it ahead. Nick Hines. Tevez knocking it toward the back line led by Kavita. Tevez. Hines. Hines trying to go one-on-one. Hines did finally get the cross away. Hines, a player who endeared himself to Seattle fans early by scoring in his debut against, I don't know, Portland.
That'd be a good team to score.
Yeah, tough act to follow.
Look at the defensive presence here of Ledbetter on his toes. Great body shape, stays low, doesn't jump in.
Throw for Seattle. Ended a 6-game losing streak last time out. A 3-0 dismantlement of Las Vegas where they scored 2 minutes into the game. Las Vegas finished the first half with 9 men. They saw it through to the bitter end. 3-0 final. They started 4 wins, 7 losses, 2 draws. Very much in playoff conversation through the quarter pole of the season. Of course, St. Louis will see that Las Vegas Lights squad next on Saturday before they welcome former USL Cup champion, 2014 title winners, last Western Conference team to win it all, Sacramento, following Wednesday night in the ESPN game of the week. Calistri knocks it outside. This is a stretch of 4 of 5 at home, 5 of 7, Toyota Stadium. So much early this year, we heard Anthony Pulis say, what a dream it'd be to get home. De Silva! Cutting that across the grain with Kyle Gregg nearing the post too.
See the reaction of Greg. He should have anticipated that one coming all the way across.
Pierre De Silva's the kind of player where he does things that are so unexpected that sometimes not everybody's on the same page.
It's tough to get on the page with somebody that good. Sometimes you just want to stand back and admire his skill. Of course, that's not what you want to do when you're a teammate and try to find a way to get on the end of one of his balls.
Look at De Silva.
Beautiful skill. Silky moves, change of pace. Greg just needs to find a way to anticipate that and get inside the 6-yard box.
Let's not forget, De Silva's only been with the team for a couple of weeks. Came in for a 1-game stint earlier this year, but it's been a little bit in and out. Greg, a little bit of a mugging here between him and Wingo. He's pulled away with the ball at his feet.
Had to come a long way back to win that ball.
Coming out, Brown got a piece. This will come back toward Rogers. Somehow the flag stayed down for Culbertson.
Greg had come back a long way to win the ball. Did really well to hold it up in the long diagonal. Culbertson has had a good night. Worked really hard on that left flank. Again, that back line of St. Louis flattening out to a back 5 instead of a back 3. Just allowing a little bit of space for Sounders too to exploit.
Alfaro knocked it ahead. Hines swerves that toward the post, looking for Lamar Nagel.
See what he was intending to deliver that ball in. Brown did really well off his line quickly. In fairness, Colbert did a pretty good to pull out of the challenge. It could have been nasty at the top of the box.
Daly has been a bright spot. Excellent ball. Flag is up. Kavita got there anyway. Oh, Lissy showing some attacking chops. Change on the way. Matt, could you ever pull that hairdo off? I never could.
Never worked for me.
Substitution for St. Louis FC, leaving the game, number 22.
When you're as good as Herzog is, you can get away with interesting hairdos like that.
Sure can. Kyle Gregg comes off. Corey Herzog comes on. And the substitution is brought to you by G&W Meats. Kyle Gregg scores in the 3rd minute of play. A lot of good work done by Kyle Culbertson to make it happen. It was a tap-in the end. As it stands to be the game-winning tally. Mission accomplished for Anthony Pulis's accomplished number 9. And Herzog on in his place.
And here's the goal. Here's Culbertson on the header from the Warfall cross. Again, another great save from the goalkeeper, but he can't do anything about the ensuing pass from Culbertson that finds Greg for the easiest of finishes.
So that's the 3rd and final sub for St. Louis. So all 6 changes have been made. Kadeem Dakers was available again, and we were told he was good to go today with a hefty brace on his previously dislocated shoulder, but he won't need to feature given the current result. Calistri tackled from behind by Tevez.
Ulysses again getting high in the attacking 3rd, but his pullback pass was not a good one. Just turns the ball over. Ends up on the foot of Calistri. I'm not sure what kind of football Tevez was playing there.
Fink. Oh, Fink pretty far away from home here. Daly, Estrada. Daly for Alfaro. LA. And now Captain Rogers.
So Andy Pulis has made a tactical change here with the substitutions. Certainly we knew with Walls coming on, playing alongside Hilton, things were going to get more defensive in the midfield. So it looks like Herzog is being employed perhaps as the lone forward. Keep things even more compact in the midfield area of the pitch. It's going to make life more difficult to spring the offense on the counter.
Calistri waving his arms around like a conductor, trying to orchestrate. He'll keep this in play now. Calistri driving up the byline. Herzog for De Silva. Clever stuff. Daly sniffed it out. Herzog's coming after Callie Brown.
I want to see the thought process of Herzog. I'm a goal scorer, I'm in the box, I've got the ball at my feet, I want a shot, but I'm not going to get through two defenders. As that took time to develop. The pass in the end went off of the foot of De Silva.
Well, it's a long night in the USL's Western Conference. Sacramento and Fresno are coming up as the late game. Fresno sits in 9th, so a lot of St. Louis eyes are going to turn their attention toward that, and Sacramento will be here in a week and a half for USL Game of the Week. They're hoping to pack the stands out for that one. Tickets still available. As a couple fans are off to the parking lot early, hoping that they've seen this thing through. This is a St. Louis team now, only 25 goals scored this year. It's bottom 5 in the West, but 2 big goals here. And you're starting to see this offense pick up a little bit of pace. This is now 4 goals in the last 2 games, including 2 against a really stout Reno side.
The offense is starting to pick up, players are starting to get healthy, and the team is showing resilience. All positive.
Hines will run ahead. Alfaro. Play to the feet of Hines. Trying to sneak by Calistri. Goodness. Hines. Finishing touch wasn't there. De Silva drives it away. Tevez. Alfaro. This is hit by Wingo. Not nearly as close as his previous efforts. We've talked about back 3, back 4, back 5. This is a Red Rover back line right now from St. Louis. Off that set piece, everybody was back.
And that ball went out to Hines. I thought it was a wasted opportunity for Sounders too. Hines did really well to beat Calistri to the end line and then serve the ball across. Unfortunately, the service was not of the quality of the footwork that went before it.
Well, for Seattle, they're hoping this isn't their 20th loss. Going back now, their last 29 games. Latter stages of last year where they finished 8 winless. They're back home. Their next game take on San Antonio before they go away to Portland, away to Oklahoma City for hosting this St. Louis side.
St. Louis will be hoping that Seattle have two of their best games of the season in the next couple of weeks. Against San Antonio, against Timbers too. Both of those teams are currently in 6th and 8th place in the playoff picture.
Well, there is a bit of irony in talking with some of these Western Conference coaches. The Tulsa and Oklahoma Cities of the world are playing a lot better than they were a month and a half ago, and some teams have dropped points to them and looked around and said, well, I hope they at least do that to everyone around me in the standings and don't just leave me holding the bag. Daly ahead, stabbed backwards by Wingo.
Don't look now. OKC Energy currently sitting in 12th place.
Can you believe that?
Considering that they lost 8 straight, didn't score for 5 straight. It was one heck of a hole they dug for themselves. They're on a great run of form at the moment, getting some confidence.
If they make the playoffs, given everything that's happened, they switch head coaches. Jimmy Nielsen out. He was the longest tenured in the Western Conference. By comparison, both these teams with first-year head coaches. And then that offensive drought made some roster changes, and well, maybe they do have it all figured out. Here's one of the goal scorers, Ledbetter. De Silva, caught by Callie Brown. Drew Becky came in mid-season for Oklahoma City. Of course, they brought in Christian Valesky from St. Louis. He promptly paid some dividends for them. Well, say what you want on St. Louis offensively. Defensively, it's been stout. Looking for a 7th home clean sheet. As noted earlier, in 5 of their 6 wins, they held the opposing team scoreless. The only other instance being that game at Reno, 2-1. De Silva. Ledbetter lays it over for Herzog.
The idea was right, just needed a little bit of bend on the ball. Just played too closely to the goalkeeper.
Well, St. Louis trying to play some really pretty attacking football in the final third, to their credit. Hines. Daly. Tevez. Hines. Out of the side by Nagel. Nagel slipped through, cutting back. Nagel goes down. It's a penalty. Kavita's livid. Nagel, tremendous footwork in the box. And Seattle not ready to let this one get away just yet.
That was the attempt at the other end. Ledbetter trying to slip Herzog through. And that was the play. Look at that little cut back there. Beautifully done from Nagel.
Fourth penalty to be taken by Seattle this year. Estrada has 9 goals. He's among the league leaders. Does Fenelson have a big save in him here? Keep this breathing room. Estrada, save, follow-up, slid aside by Fink, and Fenelson comes up with a big stop for St. Louis. And those are 2 very different expressions
on opposite sides of that spot kick. This ball played backwards. Fenelson is coming. Slide in. And Estrada gets up. He's frustrated. He felt like he had slid into the ball while it was still loose.
The last time out against Las Vegas Lights, Estrada had a penalty kick, and he put it to the same side of his goal as he did tonight. Fenelson, in anticipation of that, dives quickly to his right, makes a very good save. He did a great job of shepherding that ball out for the corner kick.
First time St. Louis successfully stopped a penalty this year between Gomez and Fenelson. Fenelson led Akron to back-to-back Final Fours. Really well decorated time in Orlando under Anthony Pulis. And he's left Seattle certainly disappointed here as we enter the 90th minute. That hit Hutchinson?
It hit him in the back, I think.
Well, fans were catcalling toward him after that.
Fenelson was a little bit knocked up after that, banged up after that challenge from Estrada. Had Fink take the free kick. St. Louis certainly have done a really good job of staying organized throughout this match.
Flicked onward, Hines. There's an appeal for a handball. Reynolds. Watch this out.
Sounders too have had their opportunities. They've tried to get wide. Wingo hit the crossbar. And for the most part, St. Louis can be very pleased with the way they've been organized throughout this match.
Hines didn't keep that in. You think back to last week, a 2-1 win at Reno. Anthony Pulis said at halftime, up a man, they had conceded a goal. He said maybe that was the 10 minutes that changed their season as a coaching staff after 4 or 5 games without a win, trying to reinstill some confidence in this team. Wall Fall draws and takes a penalty in the 74th, and then Sam Fink, the 3rd minute of stoppage time, just the man you want to lead the team late. De Silva's excellent run breaks down just as he had nearly pulled through. But for St. Louis, the narrative of this season, if it does end in that long-awaited playoff position, will almost assuredly turn to that last week in July, first week in August. Referee's got a decision to make. Pierre De Silva lying on the ground, and a couple teammates have streamed over. Alfaro has some additional words here.
St. Louis just need to walk away. Mr. Varga missed what Fink is upset about, and it looked like Alfaro actually swept his foot towards De Silva after the foul. Here's the challenge. There's the foul. And then it looks like he kicks out a little bit at De Silva. I think the referee missed that one. So within the first half, LA was lucky to stay on the pitch after he shoved Hilton to the ground. And Alfaro could count himself equally as fortunate.
It'll be the third time this year that this team has strung together 2 straight wins. Haven't made it to 3. That's the decisive moment, perhaps, for St. Louis this year. Seattle still winless on the road. They'll fall to 0-8-2. Disappointment continues for S2. But for St. Louis, it's the win they so desperately needed. It's 2 in a row. Another 3 points. Fennelson, the 7th clean sheet for St. Louis goalkeeping at home. And they're that much closer to playoff position.
He had to do it the hard way. He had to make the penalty save to keep the clean sheet. The home team better organized, particularly in the first half, weathered the storm in the second, and found a way to manage this game home. A lot of satisfaction for Anthony Pulis and his team tonight. A job well done in the end.
Full time brought to you by Edward Jones. St. Louis FC, a 2-goal winner over Seattle Sounders FC 2. As St. Louis picks up 2 goals in the opening half, a rarity for them this year. And Fennelson, a late penalty save, keeps Seattle off the board and keep them from a potential comeback. A giant win for St. Louis at home. Well, it started in the heat of this summer day. The first of 3 consecutive home games off on the right foot. The 3rd minute of play, Kyle Gregg, and a phenomenal finish from Austin Ledbetter. Somehow just his first of the year. And despite all the late fireworks, St. Louis nurses this one home. They're 2-goal winners, and we'll wrap it up when we return.
When you need quality electrical work for your home or business, look to the electricalconnection.org. Created as a partnership between IBEW Local 1 electricians and the St. Louis chapter of the National Electrical Contractors Association, the Electrical Connection has been setting the standard for electrical excellence in St. Louis for over 100 years. You can depend on our highly skilled and trained workforce, your #1 source for quality electrical and communication contractors, electricalconnection.org.
Ah, another truckload of Toyotas. What a sight.
Yeah, during Toyota's national clearance event, we've got the last of the 2018s. And super low APR financing.
Maybe that's why they go so fast.
Okay, that's got to be a record.
Right now at Toyota's national clearance event, you can get incredible deals on the last of the 2018s. Offers end September 4th. To learn more about all our great deals, visit Toyota.com.
Save on the last of the 2018s. Come in today.
Toyota, let's go places.
Herzog will launch again. This time Fall getting something on it. The header comes in, and it's a winning goal! Sam Fink, the captain, with the winner with just a minute left to play, and St. Louis finally converting on their man advantage. Might just get 3 vital away points.
And now 3 more vital points for St. Louis at home against Seattle Sounders FC 2. Full-time brought to you by Edward Jones. These fans watch on as the players make their way off into that direction with Matt Stubbington, Mike Watts, full-time highlights ahead here, Matt. And in the opening 5 minutes, St. Louis knew that they wanted to get the first goal. It's something they haven't been able to attain nearly enough this year. They could have been stopped by Callie Brown. It's a great save, but Culbertson just continued.
He just stayed with the ball, did a great job. And there was movement from Gregg, getting in between the 2 defenders. Top of the 6, easy as you like, put it into the back of the net. The defender's just looking around, wondering whether Gregg was offside or not. Can't be offside when the ball's played across the pitch like that. You've got to feel sorry for Brown, though. Fantastic save. And things just started to go on from there. Warfall involved again. Whose cross led to the goal. And this pass led to this goal. Ledbetter check back to the ball. Nobody went with him. He turns, measures the shot, and puts it past the goalkeeper beautifully.
Matt was notably golf clapping next to me in appreciation of that goal. Fine finish. Seattle had their chances. This in particular, if not for that save from Fenelson and PK later in the game, who knows? Maybe this finishes 2-2.
Really close to being 2-2. This is another moment from Ledbetter, trying to find it to Greg. Lovely touch there from LA. Nearly deflected to De Silva, but Brown makes a great save. And you're talking about close moments. Wingo had a lot of shots in the second half. Seattle Sounders too were much the better team to begin the second period of play. And this was another measured shot, but this one didn't curl underneath the crossbar. And Fenelson was beaten all ends up. Then the penalty kick. Wingo involved again. Nagel with the run through. He's tripped up. Easy call from Mr. Varga, the referee. Points to the spot. And Estrada steps up. You'd think he'd score. Fenelson, he was measured it to it. Great save from the goalkeeper. Even better with the kick save. Didn't see that in the regular run of play. He put it out for the corner kick. Great job from Fenelson. And in the end, the home team were able to see this one home.
Ultimately, statistically, the shot difference really isn't all that notable. It was, 2-3 really good opportunities for St. Louis that they cash in. Seattle had 2 or 3 good looks. They didn't. And there's your scoreline.
Oh, and that's really the difference in the game of soccer. St. Louis, for me, were the better organized team throughout the duration of the game. They had moments where Seattle Sounders too were able to get wide, cause some problems, had a lot more energy coming out of the locker room at the halftime break. But in the end, Anthony Pulis was able to organize his team and get the job done and manage them home, which is really important. And again, it's the resilience of St. Louis that they've demonstrated over the last 3 or 4 matches.
San Antonio gets a massive 3 points on the night as the race for that 8th position in USL's Western Conference continues on. As our full time brought to you by Edward Jones, the final score St. Louis FC 2 and Seattle Sounders FC 2-0. For Matt Stubbington alongside Brian Rose, our producer, director Brian Navarro, Jose Bueso, our entire team in Fenton. Mike Watts saying, thanks for watching. St. Louis, game 1 of 3 at home. A rare winning streak. Is this where they make their climb up the Western Conference towards the playoffs? Time will tell. But for now, all positive in Fenton. St. Louis 2, Seattle 0. Good night.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.